everybody. Dr. Peter Glidden, welcome back. It's Wednesday, the 27th day of March, 2013. TikTok March is almost over. Diabetes drugs, hot off the press. Diabetes drugs, including Merck's Januvia, Bristol Myers Squibb Byetta, and Novo Nordisk's Victoza, are being scrutinized by U.S. regulators for a potential link to pancreatic cancer. Doctors have been concerned that this category of diabetes treatments may damage the pancreas since the FDA said in 2007, if you can do math, that is 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it received a high number of reports of pancreatitis in patients taking Byetta. The agency issued a similar alert for Januvia in 2009. An analysis of insurance records published last month in the Journal of the American Medical Association showed such drugs may double a user's risk of pancreatitis. Now, again, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail, and I want you to wonder to yourself, what would happen to a chiropractor or a naturopath or an herbalist or a licensed nutritionist if they gave one person one drug and it doubled their risk of getting cancer? Or one substance, an herb, a vitamin, whatever. And it doubled their risk of getting any type of cancer. They would be thrown in jail, they'd be vilified, they'd be pilloried in the town square, their profession would be called into question, there would be Senate hearings about how to regulate, the naturopaths or the chiropractors or the herbalists, and we have to stop all this quack medicine. But when the MDs do it, everybody gives them a pass, and the FDA 6 years ago got information from clinical studies, clinical uses of the drug that, hey, look, these drugs hurt people, and they gave them a pass and let them do it anyway. Once again, the Food and Drug Administration is not meant to regulate the pharmaceutical industry. The Food and Drug Administration, as we talked about with Jonathan Emord a couple of weeks ago, 12 days ago, we talked to Jonathan Emord about this. We're going to talk to him on the 15th of every month, more or less, the 15th of every month, unless that falls on a Saturday, and then it's going to be the 14th or the 13th or whatever. Right around the middle of the month, Jonathan Emord is going to be our regular guest. We talked to him about this relationship between the Food and Drug Administration and the pharmaceutical companies, and the average consumer is led to believe that the Food and Drug Administration's role and purpose is to keep everybody in check and to make sure that the pharmaceutical companies don't sell drugs that hurt people and that they're regulating it for the public safety, when in point of fact their only job is to make it as easy as possible for drug companies to do whatever the heck they want. So studies, and this is such a ridiculously large endemic, prolific situation that every time we see a new headline about this, it passes before our glazed eyes. It passes right in front of us unnoticed because, we're just enrolled in the paradigm, the mythology, that the MD is the king and that they can't do anything wrong, even when they do things wrong over and over and over and over and over and over again, we give them a pass. We give them a pass. Where is the public outrage? For goodness sake, it's a horrible thing, but, the kids killed by the gun rampage in Connecticut, there's public outrage, congressional hearings. Pharmaceutical companies manufacture drugs that give people cancer, and nothing happens. Nothing happens. The leading cause of death in the United States, MD-directed medical therapeutics, and we don't have congressional hearings. The leading budgetary stress on the U.S. economy, the unbelievably burdensome cost of health care. Disease management, rather, because you and I know it's not health care. And we don't hold public hearings. The best thing that anybody can possibly do in their life, if you're suffering from a chronic health condition, is fire your medical doctor, especially if they practice integrative medicine, because those people really don't know what they're doing. Now, a colleague and good friend of mine, the first president of the American Association of Naturopathic Physicians, his name is Jim Sensenig. He has a private practice in Danbury, Connecticut. Dr. Sensenig perhaps has more experience with the treatment of cancer than any other from the holistic point of view, than any naturopathic physician alive. And luckily, Dr. Sensenig and I are cut from the same cloth. We both have the same philosophical orientation. I just spoke with him this morning. He's arranging his schedule to be a regular guest on this radio program. And as soon as I can get Dr. Sensenig's schedule squared up with mine, we're going to have him on. And we're going to do an expose on the evolution of cancer treatment here in the United States. And it will make you cry. Paradigms are a funny thing, right? A paradigm is a fixed cultural belief which exists because everybody believes in it. It's reality by consensus. Years ago, of course, the most famous paradigm was that the earth was flat, right? Everybody believed it, not because there was evidence to support it, but just because everybody believed it. After that, of course, the next paradigm was that it was the earth that was at the center of our solar system, because for goodness sake, just look to the west and look to the east and you can see it's the sun that moves around the earth, right? Well, not really. It's just your perspective that makes it seem so. But the funny thing about a paradigm is when you're inside of a paradigm, you don't know that you're inside of a paradigm. And when a new paradigm comes along to replace it, one which is more consistent with the truth, vis-a-vis the earth is round, it's not flat, and it's the sun that's at the center of the solar system, not the earth. When these new ways of looking at things come along, the people in the old paradigm reject the new paradigm outright because you can't exist in two paradigms at one time. You just can't do it. In order to get to the new paradigm, you must abandon the old paradigm. What's happening in medicine now is that physicians who have MD after their name, and ironically, a great number of naturopaths who have ND after their name, understand, correctly so, that the conventional allopathic reductionistic way of treating disease and treating patients just doesn't work. I mean, it doesn't work. The numbers are in. It doesn't work. And yet, instead of abandoning the reductionistic paradigm, seeing the reductionistic paradigm as a failed paradigm, as an incomplete reflection of the way that the natural world works, what the integrative medical doctors do, what the MDs do, and what a large number of naturopaths do, is they try to use vitamins and herbs and nutritional supplements instead of drugs. But they use them through the old allopathic reductionistic paradigm. And this is a mistake of biblical proportions. The funny thing about being in a paradigm is that you don't know that you're in a paradigm. And ironically, there's only a handful of naturopathic physicians, licensed naturopathic physicians with clinical experience, who have a clue that the holistic paradigm is the way to go and that we actually work inside of that paradigm. Most of my colleagues, sadly, regretfully, do not. I don't know any MDs that do. I don't know any MDs that work inside the new paradigm. They just can't do it because a leopard never changes its spots. A tiger never changes its stripes. It is the rare Democrat that becomes a Republican and completely gives up their democratic beliefs. It is the rare conservative that becomes a liberal and completely gives up their conservative beliefs, and vice versa. It's the rare born-again Christian that's going to give up their beliefs and become a Buddhist, right? It happens every once in a while, and vice versa. But, more to the point, when you're involved in one type of way of looking at things and you see that it doesn't work, instead of abandoning your paradigm and looking for a new one, you try to fix the paradigm that you're in, and that never works. It never works. So back in the day, the slave owners, they gave better food and better housing to their slaves, thinking that that was the way to go, because you can't really free these people. Oh my God, I can't consider that. These aren't real people. They're just animals. So let's feed them better. Let's house them better, right? Let's give them one day off a year type of a deal, right? Let's let them work inside the house instead of outside in the fields. That should make everybody feel better, right? Well, sorry, you're missing the boat. Well, it's the same thing with holistic medicine. It is exactly the same thing. In order to successfully practice holistic medicine, which is the correct paradigm, And it's not the paradigm of the future, by the way. It is the paradigm of right now. Holistic therapeutics delivered holistically are being employed right now. And, two of the leaders in that field are Dr. Wallach and Dr. Sensenig. I know maybe 6 or 7 other naturopathic physicians. That's it. And that's a stretch, quite frankly. 6 or 7 other naturopathic physicians beside Wallach and Sensenig and myself who are actually involved in the delivery of holistic medicine through a holistic paradigm. This is the cutting edge of new-fangled medical nutrition. It's not old-fashioned, it's new-fashioned medical nutrition. It's a new paradigm. But it is the rare MD, and it is, the infrequent naturopathic physician who actually have some type of experience in this new domain, in this new paradigm, and this is a problem. But not for you. Thank God you found this radio station, and I will toot my own horn here because I am the only licensed Dr. Wallach. Dr. Wallach and myself are the only licensed naturopathic physicians who are talking about, in real time, live, about the holistic paradigm and how holistic therapeutics properly applied affect you. So if you're up against it, you've got a health concern, you want the new-fashioned way of helping your body deal with it, guess what? You have just found it. More to the point, if you want to really kick it up a notch or two, subscribe to my online health recovery service. It's a subscription-based service where I give you 4 hours of live contact a week. 4 hours of live contact a week. Hundreds of hours of archived information that you can point and click and listen to 24/7. Ladies and gentlemen, out with the old, in with the new. Fire your MD now. FireYourMDNow.com. Click on the link for the health recovery subscription. Sign up, get your health back, and let's move our community forward. Once more, we're going to run over to Michigan and talk to Rini, who has a question about a thyroid condition. Hey, Rini, thanks for the call. You are live.
Hi, Dr. Glidden. Thanks for taking my call. I did send you a question on the health recovery program, but I'm hoping I could talk to you today. And I'm hoping that my cell phone doesn't blink out here. I'm on my way down to visit my sister, who is, I believe, dealing with hyperthyroid. But before I say that, though, I do want to give a plug-in for your health recovery program. If everyone listening, if they're not on it, that they need to check it out. That it's check it out. Like you say, check it out for a month and see what you think. And also to tell you that the recent thing that I've done is when I increased my selenium from taking 9 a day to 12 a day, I feel a difference. It seems to be working. But my question about my sister, she just turned 52, and she's been dealing with a lot of stress with their small business and everything, and we thought she was dealing with depression, which, of course, concerned us because our family, this time 29 years ago, my dad committed suicide.
Ouch.
And so, yeah. So a couple, maybe 10 days ago, or I'm trying to think now, she finally decided, okay, she would start drinking the Beyond Tea Tangerine, and the plant-derived minerals, and taking the EFAs. And then this last Sunday, my brother-in-law ended up taking her into the emergency room, and they put her on Ativan. And then that day she seemed to do pretty good or whatever. And so then the next day she had a doctor appointment, and now they're wanting to, so far, the blood tests have shown possible thyroid issues. Well, now the more I'm looking at her and I'm thinking that I think she's maybe hyperthyroid. She lost 35 pounds in like 2 months. She is very shaky, tremors. What's the other stuff that I noticed? Oh, her eyes. I think her eyes are even kind of bulging out a little bit. And so I went over your thyroid webinar, and so I'm making my way down there I'm taking her a bottle of selenium and some myrrh oil.
Yep.
And with the myrrh oil, 3 times a day, you can rub it on the thyroid.
Yeah, there's no downside to using more of that, and, we don't really know the appropriate dosage, but, 3 times minimum Some right in the morning when you wake up after you take your shower, a little bit after lunch, and then a little bit more right before bed. If you also want to do another dose between lunch and bedtime right around dinner, then that's okay too. I mean, you can't overdo it with that stuff. But, it's interesting because most people with hyperthyroid are not depressed. I mean, it's the rare hyperthyroid person who is actually depressed, number one. Number two, beware the diagnosis of the MD, because a lot of the MDs, they're just, I hate to say this because it sounds like I'm full of myself and I'm bashing people, but my experience with MDs is it is the rare medical doctor who makes the correct diagnosis. I mean, they get it wrong all the time, number one. Number two, Ativan, which is also called lorazepam, is a benzodiazepine. And benzodiazepines are an extremely addictive substance. Benzodiazepines are more addictive than heroin is. Benzodiazepines are more addictive than heroin is. Your sister and everybody else who's taking Xanax or lorazepam or Ativan needs to educate themselves about the net negative side effects of these drugs moving forward, because it is very, 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 very difficult to get off of these drugs once you do not need them anymore. And most medical doctors are completely unaware of this. They give this stuff out like candy, and there ought to be a law. So, if your sister is smart, then have her look up the side effects of benzodiazepines. I mean, just do a Google search for Ativan. It pops right up. And that should put the fear of God into her as far as taking the advice of these people moving forward, because this stuff doesn't fix anything. It just paints over the mold, so to speak, and then you're addicted to the paint, which is good for the drug companies, not so good for you. Rini in Michigan driving to see her sister, who God only knows what the MDs have diagnosed correctly or incorrectly. Are you still with me, Rini?
I am, yep.
All right, very good. So the first thing that I would do, after you educate your sister about Ativan and how it works. Oh, and by the way, people drink alcohol because they like the way that alcohol makes them feel. I mean, we don't drink alcohol because we're alcoholics. We drink alcohol because we like the way we feel after we drink alcohol, right? I mean, it's a stress reliever, right? It makes you less inhibited. It makes you feel better temporarily, of course, and it's a drug. The reason alcohol makes you feel better, it's a drug action. Well, when someone takes Ativan, they're going to feel better also. It's a drug action. It's not curative. It's not healing. It's a drug action, the same way that, if you take 2 or 3 shots of tequila, before you hit the floor, you're going to feel better. So we need to make a distinction between something that's healing the problem, if it is depression, and something that's just, drugging you into a stupor so that you feel better. And that's what Ativan does. That's what the benzodiazepines do. Of course she's going to feel better after she takes it. That's how it works. It's the rare person that takes a benzodiazepine that doesn't feel better. Okay, number one. Now, the other thing is, really, I would make sure that she has a second opinion. I would get a second opinion from a doctor at a different hospital, or a different part of town. Just get a different diagnosis from somebody, because she may have hyperthyroidism. She may really be depressed. God only knows what it is. In any event, regardless of where we're going here with the diagnosis, the recommendation is to support and promote the structure and function of every aspect of her body in a holistic way. So she needs to start with not just the Beyond Tangy and the essential fatty acids, but she needs to do the entire 90 essential nutrients. She needs to do the entire 90 essential nutrients, and this, of course, includes the liquid calcium. It's very important that she gets the liquid calcium, because not enough calcium has an effect on your sleep and has an effect on your mood. So we need to dial in the 90 essential nutrients toot sweet. In addition to that, because of the stress of her life, and if you're reporting to me that she has a high stress, experience of life in the last little while, then one of the first things that your body burns up when you're stressed out by whatever it is that you're stressed out by are the B vitamins, B like baby. So anybody that's in a high-stress environment is counseled to guard themselves against the stress by supplementing their diet with more B vitamins, B like baby. And Youngevity's B vitamin is called de-stress, like detoxify, de-stress, de-stress. So I would give her the Healthy Start Pack, appropriate for body weight, 1 bottle of de-stress. Everybody gets the selenium, right? I mean, everybody does. 1 bottle per 50 pounds of body weight per month. And I would have her physician do a hemoglobin A1C test. Hemoglobin A1C, that will tell you whether her blood sugars are normal or not. And if the blood sugar results come back that she's in the high end of normal, or she's over she's outside of the normal reference range, then we want to give her blood sugar support, and we do that by adding sweeties into the mix at 1 bottle per 100 pounds of body weight per month. Hemoglobin A1C is the test, and also I would recommend she gets tested for free T3, T like Thomas, free, like Free Willy, free T3 and free T4. Free T3 and free T4. These are both blood tests any physician can order. Quite frankly, she can order these tests herself online by going to mdlabtest.com, and that's on back of the pharmacy card that Youngevity has. You can order your own blood work. Did you know that? You don't need a doctor's order anymore. I think Maryland is the only state or only part of the United States that prevents that. So, free T3, free T4, and hemoglobin A1C. I just counseled someone to do this, and I think the total cost for those 3 tests is about $130. Well worth it if she's in the woods with a depressed event or a potential, overactive or underactive thyroid. So you got to dial in what's wrong with her initially before we start tilting at windmills here. But whichever way the diagnosis goes, once you've dialed in a definitive diagnosis by someone who actually knows what the heck they're doing, which is rare in MD land, you want to give her the Healthy Start Pack and the selenium and the de-stress, just because that stuff can't hurt. So, and the myrrh oil also won't hurt. So that's how I would do it, Renee. Don't leave out the calcium. Don't leave out the de-stress. And, if she doesn't want to jump into this water, what I would do is I would print up the side effects of the benzodiazepines and leave them in her hands with a copy of a brochure from a funeral home, and just tell her to get in touch with you when she gets her head out of her you-know-what, because we can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And hopefully listening to this podcast here will help to solidify in her mind, number one, that the benzodiazepines is an absolutely harmful juvenile therapeutic. It should be outlawed, by my way of thinking. And you gotta really dial in the diagnosis first, definitively, before you take a drastic step like that. In any event, that's my approach there, Renee. Are we good? Did I cover anything? You have any other questions?
Yeah, I have one more question. Now the thing is that not only did they give her Ativan, they gave her something else too, because she went to the hospital Sunday, and then Monday she went to the doctor, and when they saw the blood test about the thyroid, that's all I know so far. So it's not been diagnosed exactly for sure what it is. But then they gave her some other kind of antidepressive medicine, and my mom doesn't know what it's called. But my other question is, she's scheduled to go on Monday for some kind of a test. I don't know what it's called. It sounds like it's something to do with radiation. She has to go 3 times, 8 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 8 o'clock the next morning. And so, of course, my mom is telling me, I got to follow through with what the doctor says. And, of course, I'm telling her, no, you don't, Mom, because I was going to order the free T3 and the free T4 on mdlabtest.com can I order the hemoglobin A1C? Or how does that go?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. And, people that have a good insurance plan are they're really like, the sheep before the wolves, because the MDs are just going to do as much testing as they possibly can, ridiculous testing most of the time, in order to try to, scare up a diagnosis somehow. I mean, I have no idea what they're talking about doing that type of testing. But I got to tell you something. If they're silly enough, old-fashioned enough, outdated enough, juvenile enough to give her Ativan, then you got to hook her up with a different doctor, because that is just like really old-fashioned, outdated, dangerous medicine. And I'm choosing my words carefully. That is a dangerous therapeutic, and the people that prescribe it should be brought into question immediately just because they prescribed it. So I would get her on board with a different doctor, because these people are dangerous. No kidding. So, good luck, with her sister, your sister. Let me know if she's open. I mean, if she's open to moving forward on her own behalf, the best thing to do, right, is to convince her to call the show herself and talk to me, and I will try to dial it in for her. All right, Renee, we got other callers. Thanks so much for your support. Thanks for everything you're doing for your family and your world. Now go out there and get them. I'll see you on the next webinar. We're going to Ohio next. Leslie is up to bat, calling with a question about Crohn's disease. Hey, Leslie, you are live.
Hey, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Well, I think that I'm a little worried about something that I've done. I think I've made a huge error. I have a 13-year-old son who has recently been diagnosed with Crohn's, and they put him on prednisone to help with to help reduce the inflammation.
Yeah.
And because he was a 100-pound kid,
yeah,
and he's lost about 15 pounds,
yeah,
and was anemic, and just had he basically was a withering little leaf.
Yeah.
And the other thing that they put him on was, 6MP. And it sat on my counter for about 2 weeks before I finally relented. And now I feel like I have just made a huge error. And so now I need to fix, he's on the taper for the prednisone. And so now I need to figure out, I've listened to your programs as far as the Crohn's and the things that you recommend with that. What my question, I guess, is what do I need to do or add or supplement for the 6MP, or what, could possibly, incurred on him because of this?
Well, 6MP is a weird little drug. It's called, I think, if memory serves me correctly, it's called mercaptopurine, I think. Mercaptopurine, I think that's what 6MP is. Mercaptopurine, it's either that, yeah, it's mercaptopurine, right, which they use instead of Azicol for Crohn's. Well, look, this particular drug does not get to the root cause of what the problem is. It just messes your biochemistry, pushes your biochemistry this way or that way. So what I would do, specific drugs have, and this is an interesting thing to talk about, number one, because drugs don't work by magic, right? Drugs exert a biochemical influence in the body. And biochemical influences in the body demand vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, and the 90 essential nutrients. That's how they work. So whenever anybody is taking any prescription medication for any length of time, the mere swallowing of the prescription medication is burning through your nutrient reserves, because the drugs work through the use of the 90 essential nutrients in the body. So they burn through your vitamin B stores, they burn through your mineral stores, they burn through your amino acid stores, or whatever they do. So I would do a little Google search to try to find out specifically which nutrients the 6MP burns through, and you want to give your son extra of those nutrients. And off the top of my head, I don't know what that is, but it should be a relatively easy thing to figure out, number one. Number two, what we want to do for everybody who's suffering with a GI problem, the recommendation, one, to support and promote the structure and function of the GI tract, one healthy digestion pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month. So your son, being a little, little right around 100 pounds, the recommendation would be one healthy digestion pack per month. Now, to that, I would add 1 bottle of Maquis Plus, MAQUI Plus, 1 bottle of Maquis Plus, and 2 bottles of Z-Radical. 2 bottles of Z-Radical, Z like zebra, 1 bottle of Maquis Plus, and 1 healthy digestion pack per month. Now, of course, in my world, everybody gets selenium because it's such a really great anti-cancer nutritional supplement. And, you know, one of the things that we need to be conscious about here whenever somebody has a definitive diagnosis of a big, bad intestinal disease is, holy smokes, the game is afoot in the colon, so we have to be conscious of guarding the body against possibly, heaven forbid, getting colon cancer, and selenium reduces the occurrence of colon cancer by like 64%, I think. It's crazy, right, how good it does that. So your son needs selenium. The Healthy Digestion Pack, the MAQI Plus, MAQUI Plus, that has aloe vera in it, which is very healing to the intestinal milieu. And the Z-Radical promotes the production of stem cells anywhere in the body that they're needed, ostensibly. So give him a couple bottles of the Z-Radical. Clean up his diet, of course, and keep your fingers crossed, Leslie. To Michigan again and talk to Sandra, who's got a question about cat allergies. Hey, Sandra, you are live.
I actually have two questions. I'll make the first one as my quick one. My husband has this clotting thing going on here, so I got him on the EFAs, EFAs, the 3s, not the other ones. I forget what they're called.
Yeah, EFA Plus?
No, I got him on the other ones. I think it's just the...
EFA at the 180 count? Yeah, they're amber colored?
Right.
Okay.
So for his weight, which is about 210, how many of those should he be taking a day?
Well, the problem is that he's got too many blood clots in his body, right?
Yeah.
All right. So to support...
not like anything like when the doctor, it's like he's a witch doctor with his phlebotomy junk. I'm trying to get him to stop doing that stuff. I've given him the minerals. He's on the longevity stuff. But
so what's the diagnosis? Refresh my memory.
He's got too much iron in his blood, so then he goes for these stupid phlebotomy things, which never made sense to me in my mind, and then I kind of researched it and I found it out with you guys, and Oh, yeah, well, that's vampire medicine, right? So right, that's interesting. Exactly. So he's got too much iron in his body, so instead of supporting and promoting the metabolic pathways in his body that metabolize iron, the MDs just drain his blood a couple times a month. So he'll go in, have venipuncture done, and they'll take out a pint of his blood, send him on his way. The idea being that that's one way to reduce your total iron stores is to bleed you to death, and that's exactly what they're doing, and I'm the quack, right? Okay, so now he's 200 pounds? Like 210.
All right, so I would be giving him, let me do some quick math here. 180 and 180, 360 EFAs a month. That's divide that by 30, that's 12 a day. So give him 4 with breakfast, 4 with lunch, and 4 with dinner, a combination of the EFA Plus and the EFA at the 180 count. So he needs a total of 12 a day, 4 with breakfast, 4 with lunch, and 4 with dinner. That's how I would do it for 90 days, okay?
How would you combine them? Like, are you saying
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
It does not matter. Okay. You can give him 2 of the EFA Plus and 1 of the EFA, of the Amber EFA. That would be a good way to do it. Give him 2 of the EFA Plus and 1 of the Ambers, 2 of the Ambers at every meal.
2 of the Amber at every meal and one of
so
the
he's going to get 4 3 times a day, right? So. Okay. Give him 2 of each 3 times. So give him 2 EFA Plus and 2 of the Ambers with breakfast, and 2 of the EFA Plus and 2 of the Ambers with lunch, and 2 of the EFA Plus and 2 of the Ambers with dinner. That's a good way to do it.
Okay. All right. Now my cat allergy thing.
All right.
I didn't realize I had cat allergies till we got the second cat, and you love them like a kid, and now it's like I can't get rid of them, but I'm getting this stuff in my chest,
It's interesting.
Be around them too much.
Yeah. So, well, from our point of view, right, allergies, when we trace it back to the root of the allergic condition is a leaky gut, which is damage to the small intestinal milieu. The microvilli in the intestinal tract have been damaged by all of the wrong food all of the time. So the elimination of the 10 bad foods is paramount here in order to support and promote the structure and function of your immune system, which is the thing we need to pay attention to whenever we have... whenever we have an allergy.
I don't use it.
All right. So how old are you?
56.
All right. So it's going to take, 50 months for you to get on the other side of the cat allergy. That's 4 years. So you just need to maintain the discipline for the diet, continue to take the nutritional supplements. One thing that could possibly speed this up would be the Cell Shield RTQ. Cell Shield RTQ could in fact knock down your acute symptoms while promoting the resolution of the problem from the inside out. So if you don't want to wait the full 5 years, which is about what this is going to take, more or less, this is a guesstimate by the way, but it's a good guesstimate, you can just add the Cell Shield RTQ into your daily mix. Get 1 bottle or 2 bottles a month, whatever the budget can allow. And, you just have to wait until your body recovers from the allergic condition, which ostensibly it will do once you've gotten to the root cause of the problem, which from our point of view is the small intestine. So check it out, Sandra. Give it a try. Let me know how it goes. Thank you for your support. Thank you for everything that you do for your friends, your family, and your community. Ladies and gentlemen, you got to jump on this train. It's the longevity train. Looking forward to seeing you aboard.